You're listening to Up the Turnpike with hosts Mitch Anderson and Matt O'Leary.
Hello and welcome to Up the Turnpike. What's going on? Matt O'Leary alongside Mitch Anderson. Mitch, how's it going, buddy?
It's going all right. I can't help but nod groove to that song. For those of you at home wondering, it's Drop the Pop by None More Black. That intro is fan-friggin-tastic. And it goes on for a bit more. The drums, feel good every time. That's how I'm doing. What about you, buddy?
I'm doing well also. And a reason, the intro always gets me fired up. So that's part of it. But another part of it is the Elias Pettersson and JT Miller rumors keep swirling. So I figured we'd come on and just do a video here for the YouTube channel talking about the quote from Jim Rutherford from yesterday.
What a quote. My God. Like, just basically lit a match and then let it go within or maybe even pulled the pin, if you will. Even better, pulled the pin on a grenade and dropped it within the Vancouver Canucks fan base. Insane stuff from their president to say. I don't understand why he did that.
Yeah, so let's pull it up and then we'll react to it. So Canucks president Jim Rutherford confirmed there's a Miller-Pettersson rift going on in the locker room. When asked specifically about distractions in the room from those two players, he says, yes, yep.
And it gets a little bit worse than that because he's like, describes effectively like we've tried to mitigate it, and every time that we think that we've got it to a point where we're good, it boils up again. And so there's no way to keep these two together. And it even goes a little bit further than that, where he's like, he's even called into question Quinn Hughes' availability. Effectively, like, we want to keep him, we want him to be here for life, but we don't know if we can do that. You're like, what are you doing? This is collateral damage.
Yeah, how bad is it that it's impacting someone like Quinn Hughes, who's obviously one of the league's best young defensemen?
Just, I don't know how Vancouver Canucks fans are feeling right now, but I can't imagine it's a good feeling. I don't think so. But we're not Canucks fans, so we're going to hopefully try to reap the benefits of their chaos and ideally pull Elias Pettersson if we could. I have doubts that we can, and I don't want to hear anyone say about JT Miller. I don't think anyone either watching this or who's a part of our Patreon, PS, sign up to our Patreon, patreon.com/uptheturnpike, would be like, let's get JT Miller. For as good of a player as he is in terms of his production, that is not the player that we're looking for. It is really EP.
Yeah. So Elias Pettersson, 26 years old, just turned 26 in December, or November, excuse me, but like a recent 26-year-old, 31 points in 43 games, which is down from where he usually is. The few years before that, he had 89 points in 82. And then as a 24-year-old had the 102-point season. He has scored 30 goals in 3 consecutive seasons, had 27 and 68 in the COVID year, and 28 goals as a 20-year-old way back in 2019.
Yeah, he's a hell of an offensive player. The age fits with where we're at. Again, like I think, maybe not again because I didn't say it yet, but it's something that I've said in multiple pods, and I'm sure you share the same sentiment. Ideally, we're on team rebuild or retool. And this isn't the greatest retool. 26-year-old isn't the greatest place to start, let's say, a retool. But I think this is the best option that we can get.
It goes a long freaking way to changing things, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're getting, again, a 26-year-old who's won a Calder Trophy, who's a 100-point player, and is still under contract for a while on like incredible wages, $11.6 million. But I believe that's going for another 5 to 6 years.
I think this is year 1 of the extension.
Right, it is. Oh, baby. Another 7 years on that 8-year deal that is carrying a cap hit of $11.6 million, which on its surface is obviously not worth a player who's pacing out to like sub 80 points. But I think we'll agree that he's not a sub 80 point player.
No, not usually. And I would have to imagine that the beef in Vancouver right now has something to do with his play. I would think both JT Miller and Elias Pettersson would thrive in different, situations. I think just staying in the toxic environment isn't really all that great, but I mean, he is a monster on the power play. He puts up points. He's, on the younger side as he's in his mid-20s. Sure, I would also like the Islanders to get younger, and I'm talking like, early 20s and or draft selections, but the chance of acquiring a 100-point player doesn't come around very often.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't know if I can give you the Islanders' last 100-point player off the top of my head. It might be Pierre Turgeon.
Yeah,
which is
absolutely.
30 years ago, which is like 30 years ago now. So yeah, like it would cost a lot. Obviously, I would think the guy that's going to continue to be brought up in that is Noah Dobson. I think would have to be part of the package going the other way if they were to even start the conversation, right?
Yeah, it has to. It has to start with Noah Dobson, or Matthew Barzal. It's one of the two. We don't have a replacement for we don't have a replacement for either of them. So what am I talking about here? But it has to start with those two players, because the Vancouver Canucks aren't just giving up Elias Pettersson for futures, which we don't even have anyways. Like, we have first round pick that might be good, but we probably want a lottery protected, so that's worth nothing to Vancouver. Our prospect pool isn't very good, and so we don't have someone that they can take. We don't even have someone as good as Aturatu, who we traded to them 2 years ago. We don't have that, so we have to trade from the squad. And even then, looking at the squad, there are our best assets to even start this discussion is Matthew Barzal or Noah Dobson. And probably Noah Dobson is the first one, because he's been missing for a while and we seem to be doing okay.
Yeah, and I would think Noah Dobson, who's an RFA, like that's a more valuable asset than someone like Matthew Barzal, who is also on a long-term contract extension.
Yeah, it makes the money work a little bit easier, because Matthew Barzal is on like $9 million, if I remember correctly, $9.15 million.
Okay.
So it makes it a little bit easier to chew that difference, right? We're talking about two-ish, can't do the math there very quick, but like $2-ish million that we'd be gaining in terms of cap space, which we don't really have. We're minus $538,000 or $538,000 above the cap floor. But that doesn't mean that we can't make it work out. Like, take this player in terms of contracts, and we'll make it work type of thing. It would work, and it would certainly help with the contract differential with them getting Matthew Barzal back. It's just, I don't know if the Islanders are willing to do that, considering they're also probably losing Brock Nelson, if not leading up to the trade deadline, but in the offseason. That's two centers, your top two centers gone.
That's not ideal. So I would think Matthew Barzal would be out of the conversation personally, because I think they're looking for someone to play with Barzal and Horvat.
Exactly. So that would be something there. I think you're right in terms of, like, maybe Barzal is the B value, if you will, or the B trade target for Vancouver, but the A trade target has to be Noah Dobson.
And Noah Dobson, a first, and potentially more.
Definitely. I don't think you're getting a 1-for-1 there. I understand that Noah Dobson was once a 70-point defenseman and Elias Pettersson was once a 100-point player. So maybe that kind of gets close. But I think Vancouver is still dealing in a better position in terms of their player, because despite he's not playing at a 100-point pace, he's still putting up 31 points in 43 games. Whereas Noah Dobson, I believe, is not pacing out to that, or was not pacing out to that 50-point player.
He definitely wasn't before the injury.
Yeah, for some reason, Hockey Reference just is not working for me. But it's just,
give me a second. I'll try to pull it up.
Completely unresponsive.
He's got 24 points in 46 games.
Right, so he's a half-point player.
Yeah, not good enough to where the value is a 1-for-1 trade.
Exactly. So that's where we're getting into more. And then, yeah, it has to start with a Noah Dobson. And I think, how comfortable are you in moving a Noah Dobson? Just on that idea alone, outside of the fact that maybe you're getting Elias, I don't know, I'm starting to dab there when I was talking, but outside of getting like Elias Pettersson, if you just look straight up at losing Noah Dobson, how does that make you feel?
A little bit uncomfortable, because I don't know how they go about replacing him. But I think when you add in the nuance of who they are acquiring in Elias Pettersson, I would be willing to do that and then try to go to the not scrap heap, but go to the drawing board rather, and I'm trying to figure out my decor.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. You can probably find someone in free agency to fill that void. It may not be the best. You're not going to get like a young player like Noah Dobson to fill that void, but you might be able to find someone. And I'm just trying to pull it up here in terms of the unrestricted free agents, because I don't think we're going to go RFA finding and on offer sheeting anyone. But if I look for just defensemen here, I can't do that apparently. I don't really know how to navigate Puckpedia very, very well, but like you have Brent Burns that's there. That's not a great pick. Aaron Ekblad, but I don't think he's leaving Florida for any reason. Jeff Petrie, 37-year-old. Oof, Neil Pionk is maybe your best one. Does Pionk want to come back to New York type of thing?
Yeah, at least it's not with the Rangers again,
Exactly. 29 years old. I'm not sure when he turns 30, if he just recently turned 29.
This summer he'll turn 30.
Okay, so you're bringing in a 30-year-old defenseman. Not fantastic. Like we get younger in one regard, but not necessarily in another. There aren't very many good righty defensemen that are young, like Henry Jokiharju. But like you're scraping at the barrels here. 4 points, 35 games. That's not Noah Dobson replacement. That's for sure.
No, but then the next question might be you have to or with the assets that you receive in a Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri trade, try to then make another trade in the offseason for a defenseman.
Yeah, and it's clear that Lou has ideas in terms of when he gets into a position, assuming he trades Noah Dobson, which I'm still not sure that's happening or will happen. He's got ideas about who he's going to go after, because we lose Ryan Pollock and like 2 days later we got Scott Perunovich. So like it's clear he's made a short list of players that he would like to bring in, and I believe that if the time comes that Noah Dobson is traded, let's say in an Elias Pettersson situation, that Lou will be able to bring someone in to fill that void. We'll see who that might be.
I just thought it was interesting to bring up as things continue to get worse in Vancouver. And I know that's a name that Islanders fans are excited about, and that would be a pretty bold move.
It would be. Let's see if we get it done. I just worry that we don't have the assets. Even if we're talking Noah Dobson and Matt Barzal, I just don't know if we have enough to complete that package, and then what state that leaves the team in going forward. And I don't know if Lou Lamoriello wants to put himself in that situation. So
gotcha.
I feel like this might be, if it's still around, an off-season situation. But I don't know if Pettersson's going to be there in the off-season.
I don't think they could afford to wait that long.
They have
until you can't let the rest of this season play out if it's that bad in the locker room as they're describing.
That's true. You have to figure something out. You have until at least July 1st before his no move trade or no move clause comes in, and he wants to stay in Vancouver. So you've got until then to figure something out at the very least. But you're right. Like the ship is sinking, and you need to make it. You need to write it ASAP.
There we go. Let us know what you think down below in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'm Matt. He's Mitch, and we will catch you next time.